But how are we going to do that? How are we going to become, the intelligence center for marine ingredients? That's a good question that we're going to explore. However, before explaining how we're going to do that, I would like to introduce Frank, who will give us a background on what innovative traceability means, as well as explaining what is the role of the GDST in the seafood industry. Frank, please.
Nah, I got it. Trying to get the fat guy on the stage. Well, good morning. Thank you, guys. Before I get into the GDST, a little bit of background on me. So I didn't start off, as a guy in technology. I certainly didn't start off as the smartest guy in the room. I started off as a guy on a fishing boat. And I worked my way up, and then I evolved into traceability, and I became a conservationalist out of need and out of seeing that the industry, in order to move forward, needed to help itself, right? And so that was my interest in getting into traceability, and found that was a great way to move forward and to help my industry. That has always been so good to me. So I joined the GDST in 2019, but I had done traceability work prior to that. The GDST launched in 2017. These are voluntary industry standards that were developed by the industry. There was no big panel sitting in Washington, D.C. or in Europe or somewhere else in the world saying, you have to do this. This was the industry coming together saying, this is what we need to do, and this is what we can do already in our practices today. So it's a membership organization, it's voluntary, and there's hundreds of different fisheries and aquacultures, from the largest in the world to the smallest in the world, that are part of this. You can see every single piece of the supply chain represented. So the GDST is already supported, right, by global businesses all around the world, 28 different countries. Everybody is already doing this. And in fact, everybody in this room, to be perfectly honest with you, is doing it as well. Whether you know it or not, 80% of the information that's asked for, you're already collecting in one form or the other in your supply chain. Now we just have to put it together. As you can see from the list of companies represented in GDST, there's a pretty powerful group here that has the ability to move markets, that has the ability to change the conversation globally and give the industry a voice. And when we all speak with one voice, right, the message becomes very clear. So what is event-based traceability? This is my favorite slide, and I'll tell you why. So this slide talks about all these big buzzwords that you're going to hear when you talk to somebody about blockchain or your IT developer, right? Aggregation, deaggregation, right? Decommissioning events, blockchain, repositories. Did I just sound smart? Right? Did I sound smart? Because really what traceability is this. Simple, very simple language. What are we talking about? What are we collecting, right? That's the what. Those are KDEs, key data elements. That's the what. I fished it, I caught it, this was my vessel's name, this is my vessel's number. That's the what, okay? That's a commissioning event. And then what happens after what? Who? Who needs to capture this? Do I have to capture it all? Like, is this my job? Like, I've got this whole list that the GDST says I've got to get? No. Who? What am I responsible for? I'm a vessel. I'm responsible for a very limited number of key data elements. And the GDST breaks those down into critical tracking events. So it tells you who needs to capture what. And the third thing the GDST does is it says how. So now we're talking a common language. One language that everybody's talking so that we can all communicate with each other. And that's basically what the GDST does. I'll go a little deeper, right? So this, for example, is master data. And now there's another big buzzword, master data. What does master data say? Master data is stuff you don't have to collect every day because your system does it for you. It's who you are, what's my registration number. These are things that are automatic in any IT or e-logbook system. This is not something you should have to do. In fact, if you're on a vessel, what you should have to do is say, I caught this product, this weight, enter. Because everything else should be master data. Now I'm going to let you look at this list, right? So this is that CGE, KTE matrix, and you're going to go, wow, that's a whole bunch of stuff, right? But what am I responsible for? Not a lot, because we break it down into 7 pieces, right? And you're only responsible for where you sit in the supply chain. That's the information that you're responsible for. You're the who, and this tells you what the what is. Right? And when we put all those together, right, we have an unbroken chain of attributes in an event. And if you link those all together, you have traceability. So here we go. How easy is it to do this, right? Well, like I said, I'm a fat guy. I will not be a skinny guy tomorrow. I promise you that. But I can't have a salad today, right? I can jump on this pathway to traceability just like I jump on a treadmill to start my diet. And that's what we're talking about. Because wherever you are today is enough. You don't have to eat the whole thing. If you're collecting a limited amount of KDEs today, that's where you're supposed to be, right? But it's just like my diet. It's a promise to continue. It's a promise to get better. And it's a promise to move forward. And as long as we're doing that as an industry, we have a very strong voice and we have a very strong message. To give you some examples, all right, these are the drivers. These are the drivers, and Francisco talked about them. And you'll see the same words coming up over and over and over again on why we need to do this, right? But to be perfectly honest with you, it makes smart business sense. And for your businesses, you have to make smart business decisions, right? So we move forward together, and we do it little by little, and we keep going. Now, the work's already happening, right? And I know that GDST is probably not a word that's normal in conversations that you have. But for example, here in Peru, 70,000 tons were already collected on GDST apps called Traceability. In Chile, 100% of the industrialized fleet is using what they call e-logbook. Now, why is this important, right? GDST is helping enable these things. The Traceability system reports to the Navy, reports to the government, and also makes the data available for industry. Aren't you doing that already? Like, don't you have to do that already? So what GDST is doing is it's taking it and putting it into a digitized format on the vessels that solves 3 of your problems. What do I have to do? I got to report to the Navy when I leave. Okay. Well, GDST is going to do that, right? Through this app. So we have to start working and building on progress we've already made as an industry, on decisions that have already been made as an industry. And we have to make sure that the marine ingredients don't get lost in a conversation, because they belong in this one, right? It's so important what happens, what we do. Now here's the list. I mean, you're going to hear from Centinela and VitaPac, VitaPro, which is just amazing. This is work that has happened, right? This is GDST roadmapped, not complete, but why do we have to be complete, right? We have to set on the path. Like I says, I'm not going to be skinny tomorrow. But hopefully, if we all work together, the next time you see me, I may be in a smaller jacket. Thank you.